Africa in 2025 is a continent defined by contrast and potential, where rising megacities, young populations, and rapidly advancing technologies meet the challenges of climate stress and inequality. But imagine stretching this story far beyond the next decade, across centuries and even millennia. What does Africa become when deserts shift, cities evolve, and cultures endure longer than empires? This is the timeline of Africa from 2025 to the year 5500, a journey through transformation at a scale almost too vast to comprehend. In the early centuries after 2025, Africa experiences booming population growth and unprecedented urban expansion. By the end of the 21st century, Lagos, Kinshasa, Nairobi, and Cairo swell into sprawling mega-regions. Renewable energy becomes the backbone of continental development as solar belts sweep across the Sahel and wind corridors along coastlines generate global-scale power. Water scarcity forces innovation, with desalination plants and atmospheric water systems becoming essential infrastructure. As centuries pass and the calendar reaches the year 2300, the Sahara begins to change. Human-led reforestation, climate engineering, and controlled water channels create pockets of green stretching into regions once dominated by dunes. Cities rise where no city could stand before, designed to withstand heat, sand, and shifting climates. Migration patterns stabilize as many African nations turn into technological hubs. By the year 2600, Africa becomes one of the most interconnected regions on Earth. High-speed transit systems link cities from Dakar to Addis Ababa. The continent's energy exports support global civilization, and research centers in Kigali, Johannesburg, and Accra push forward breakthroughs in biology, quantum systems, and ecological engineering. The African Union evolves into a post-national federation, prioritizing shared resources, environmental stability, and cultural preservation. Around the year 3000, Africa undergoes another transformation. Climate equilibrium returns after centuries of controlled intervention. The Nile Basin becomes a cradle of innovation once again, with arcologies built along its length. East Africa emerges as a planetary hub of science and governance, attracting populations from space settlements and other continents. Cultural fusion reaches unprecedented levels, and African languages influence planetary communication networks. By 3600, the line between nature and megacity begins to blur. Many regions shift toward hybrid environments where wildlife corridors weave through dense human habitats. Cities become multi-layered structures built vertically above restored ecosystems. The Sahara's engineered green zones now function as both carbon sinks and living cultural landscapes. Africa is no longer seen as a resource, but as a model for planetary restoration. As the year 4200 approaches, Earth enters an era where nation-states fade and continental identities evolve into cultural spheres rather than political boundaries. Africa's heritage sites, Timbuktu, Giza, Lalibela, Great Zimbabwe, are preserved as active knowledge centers where ancient wisdom meets advanced science. Humanity spreads across the solar system, but Africa remains a spiritual and cultural anchor, a homeland for billions who trace their origins back to its soil. Moving into the year 5000, Africa thrives as a stabilized continent with advanced climate control systems and balanced ecosystems. New rivers created through geoengineering reshape entire regions. The population becomes more mobile, with many living between Earth, orbital habitats, and other worlds. Yet Africa retains a unique identity built on resilience, innovation, and the world's longest continuous cultural history. And finally, in the year 5500, Africa stands not as a continent divided by borders, but as a unified landscape of evolved civilizations. The Sahara is partly green, partly golden. Cities are both physical and digital. Cultures have changed, but never disappeared. Africa becomes a living archive of humanity, a place where the past and future coexist. The story of Africa across these millennia is not one of struggle alone, but of adaptation, endurance, and reinvention. It shows that even as time reshapes the Earth, Africa remains a continent that defines the human journey, not just where it began, but where it continues to evolve.